Hey guys, we're back with another video, and as you can see, I got this beanie on my head.
Good job!
In Japan, we're really moving into some colder temperatures, and as you know, I don't have a lot of hair on my head, so I have to supplement to keep myself warm, so that's why I'm wearing this today.
We don't care.
Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about fragrance and what it means to me. Fragrance, to me, it's a lot more than just liquid in a bottle. Fragrance triggers emotions and it creates emotions for me. And, I think a lot of times, we give credit to the houses that create those fragrances, as we should, but I think even more focus needs to be put on the perfumers who put in the blood, sweat, and tears to create those magical fragrances that we appreciate and love. So today, I'm going to be covering 6 fragrances from 3 of my favorite perfumers. Let's jump into it. So we're gonna start with the ladies first. So our first perfumer will be Cécile Zarokian. And Cécile had her first big hit in perfumery when she created Epic Woman for Amouage. And from there, she quickly became a very sought after perfumer. And she's created perfumes for houses like Nichane, Amouage, and Javoy, just to name a few. But one of her fragrances that I'll be talking about today is, you all know, Ani by Nichane. So Ani is a vanilla bomb. So you get a blast of citruses in the top, and then when you move into the dry down, it turns more into an ambery vanilla vibe. This one is absolutely gorgeous. It's a huge performer. Go easy on the trigger with this one. Just, 2 or 3 sprays. It really is a room filler, and the sillage that this one leaves behind is magical. And Cécile does a great job of creating vanilla fragrances that don't come off as like edible or overly gourmand. Another one that she's created was Material for Amouage, and it's not an edible vanilla, so it's kind of a vanilla that is similar to what you would find in Ani. They're not the same fragrance by any means, but they have some similarities for sure. But yeah, Ani is just a powerhouse. It smells amazing. It's completely unisex, and it lasts forever on the skin. It's smooth and rich throughout the entire life, comforting, and even a little bit creamy. Definitely one of my favorites. One of my favorites from the house of Nichane, but also one of my favorites from Cécile. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Ani by Nichane. So the second fragrance that I'll be featuring that was perfumed by Cécile Zarokian is from the house of Laboratorio Olfativo. This one is Neurotic. So this is a smoky, ambery leather fragrance that is quite deep and mysterious and dark. And it's unisex, but it pushes more to the masculine side of things, I think. This one is also a beast. I get about 10 hours of longevity with this one. Sillage and projection are quite heavy as well, so you don't need a lot of sprays with this. So you get some red fruits and geranium in the top, and then in the mid you get some saffron, coriander, and geranium. When you move into the base, you get some woody notes, smoke, amber, leather, and some sandalwood. And yeah, this one's just a stunner. I would tend to wear this one in the evening, maybe if I was wearing a leather jacket, because it definitely has like a dark edge to it. This one's very unique, and I don't have another one like this in my collection, but when I first smelled this, to me, this reminded me a little bit of Amouage Interlude Man, so the Blue Beast. It gave me slight vibes of that. They're not the same fragrance by any means, but when I first smelled it, that's immediately what I thought. But yeah, this is such a stunning fragrance, very unique. And also, just to talk a little bit about the house of Laboratorio Olfativo, what I really like about them is they produce also 30 ml bottles. So, when your fragrance collection starts to grow, you may not always want like a 100 ml or a 50 ml bottle. Obviously, that takes up a lot of space. And when you start to accumulate that many fragrances, the chances of you burning through a 100 ml bottle fragrance is probably slim, unless you're just a huge sprayer, which I'm not. I do like 4 or 5 sprays, depending on what the fragrance is and the concentration, of course, and how it performs on my skin. But yeah, this is an amazing fragrance. If you can, get yourself a sample of Neurotic by Laboratorio Olfativo. So the next perfumer that we'll be featuring today is Julien Rasquinet. And Julien has created some fragrances for Amouage, Nichane, Masque Milano, BDK, just to name a few. Julien's really inspired by Middle Eastern perfumery, and that really shows in his work. A lot of the stuff that he creates, you can definitely get that sense of it kind of has that Middle Eastern vibe to it. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of his, and I really love his fragrances. So the first fragrance that we'll be featuring today that was perfumed by Julien Rasquinet is from the house of BDK. It's called Tabac Rose. Man, this is just an amazing scent. Upon initial spray, you definitely get a heavy blast of rose and a bit of tobacco that's ever so slightly in the background. And then what I really like about this fragrance is when you start to dry down, you get definitely a burst of like chocolate that starts to push through. And so it gives it a very sweet tone. And yeah, this is a gorgeous one. It lasts forever. It projects heavily. And yeah, it's a great performer. It's definitely a compliment getter too. This would be a great date night fragrance in my opinion. I think from the house of BDK, Tabac Rose is probably my favorite. There's some others that I love from BDK, but Tabac Rose is probably my favorite from the house. So yeah, if you can, get yourself a sample of Tabac Rose by BDK. All right, the second fragrance that I'll be featuring that was perfumed by Julien Rasquinet comes from the house of Amouage. This is Enclave. So this is a very refreshing fragrance, but it has a lot of character and depth. And this is the only fragrance that I have in my collection that features the note of spearmint. So upon initial spray with this one, you get a heavy blast of spearmint. And I know that, you know, when some people smell this, they kind of get like toothpaste vibes. I never got that with this fragrance. I think the mint is done extremely well here, and this fragrance is blended to perfection. So this is just a very luxurious spearmint with a slight leathery and smoky undertone to it, which gives it just so much depth and character. The longevity and sillage are strong with this one. I mean, borderlining beastly. The performance is great with this one. I mean, as you know, with most Amouage fragrances, they perform really well. And Amouage is, you know, a Middle Eastern brand, so they're known for their Middle Eastern perfumery with heavy incense notes. Enclave kind of steps outside that Amouage traditional perfumery, and it goes in a different direction that I think is probably more welcomed by people who aren't so used to that traditional Amouage Middle Eastern style perfumery. I think Enclave is probably one of the fragrances in their catalog that will probably be more well liked by maybe the untrained nose. But yeah, this one's a good one, and I enjoy wearing this one. And the spearmint smells just absolutely amazing in the cooler kind of fall and winter air. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Enclave by Amouage. So in our last perfumer that we're going to be featuring today is the master perfumer, Dominique Ropion. Dominique is probably most well known for his masterpiece, Portrait of a Lady, that was created for Frederic Malle, and I'll be featuring that fragrance today. He's also created some amazing fragrances from houses like BDK, Amouage, Nichane, just to name a few. So the first fragrance that we'll be featuring today that was created by Dominique Ropion is from the house of YSL. It's called La Nuit de l'Homme. God, this fragrance is so sexy. This is a cardamom bomb. And for those of you who don't know, typically, in my opinion, whenever you have cardamom in a fragrance, it just brings a sexiness to that scent. And that's exactly what this is. This is almost kind of like sex in a bottle. It's that good. Now, this fragrance has received a bunch of criticism as of recent, saying that it's become a bit watered down and doesn't perform very well. This performs decently on my skin. You know, I'll get like 3 or 4 hours, maybe 5 hours, depending on the weather and other circumstances, my skin condition. But you know, I don't always need a fragrance that performs beastly, or that, you know, it takes me 2 or 3 showers just to get it off my skin. You know, I think it serves its purpose for the situation that I would use it for. And yeah, this is a gorgeous one that I'll probably always have in my collection. And yeah, this is a great one. So if you can, get yourself a sample of La Nuit de l'Homme by YSL. And the second fragrance today that I'll be showing you from master perfumer Dominique Ropion is his absolute masterpiece, Portrait of a Lady by Frederic Malle. What can I say? I've talked about this one on this channel a few times. This one holds a special place in my heart because it's my first introduction to rose fragrances. I immediately fell in love from first sniff on this one. And actually, I wore this fragrance yesterday. Every time I wear it, it's almost like a new experience. And this is quite beastly on performance. I was smelling it into the evening last night. I put it on in the morning time, and I could easily smell it in the evening last night when I got home. So yeah, this is just a stunner. This is rose and patchouli that's done to perfection, really. You know, I say this every time when I feature this fragrance, that, you know, guys, don't, especially Western guys. I think in the Western world, in the United States, I'm American, so I'm only gonna talk about guys in the United States and how they, you know, how we typically view rose perfumes. You know, I think in the States, rose is kind of seen as a feminine note. Guys, you're missing out. Trust me, like, this is such a gorgeous scent. It's unisex. On my skin, the patchouli really pushes forward. I do get a lot in rose as well, but the patchouli is very upfront on this one on my skin. This is a masterpiece. One of the best fragrances that has ever been created, in my humble opinion. And I love it to death. I'll always have this fragrance in my collection. Yeah, I can't get enough of it. If you can, get yourself a sample of Portrait of a Lady by Frederic Malle. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content, and let me know down in the comment section which perfumers that you really enjoy. I'd love to hear about them. I hope you guys are staying healthy and well, and I'll see you guys in the next video.